Hey there, Dropped Out Dev, coming with another threat assessment update for May 5th, 2025. There was a issue from last week that I wanted to go over either in a deep dive, or in one of these threat assessments, but I think we'll put it here, as I think it might start to give us an idea of what might happen next. And just to recap from our last threat assessment, our last couple, we kind of double checked that we were assessing it correctly at the right level. That's a heightened, a third orange tier, which is like just in the little assessment that I created for public facing stuff here. We said that was kind of like our next step before maybe the red level, which we're saying that would be like the SHTF type stuff. If you want to go into understanding what I'm talking about with those different levels, we have an intro to threat assessment video. I think it's in the how-to section. And this is specifically just an update for kind of the short-term period that we're in right now. So we're just an update for this date. Continue the directive for this right now that we assess for kind of general public stuff. For most of us all is going to be continue to prep for that next heightened level of threat. So what we're specifically talking about is this statement that came out last week. Now, this is not an executive order. This is technically called a presidential action. It's just a statement of what they want to do. It's although it is formalized, it's not at the same level as an executive order. Which maybe is just like a higher tier of whatever the power is there. So this is a quite interesting one. This raised quite a few eyebrows, and I think everyone kind of looks like, whoa, what are they doing here? What are they talking about? And so I think there's been some time to let people analyze this and think about what they're talking about here. And we'll go through a little bit of it, but I think what we're going to talk about is like what we might see. So in this analysis world that we're creating, you can call it whatever you want, but we put more precedent on events and actions, and maybe lower on most statements or letters or things that people say they're going to do. We're trying to bring it to events because we're talking about threats, and things that happen are threats. I guess one caveat to that thought is that statements that are far outside the norm can be a threat too. So this statement feels like it falls into that, so that's why we're putting it a high priority and we're talking about it. So what does this do? It talks about the purpose, and this is all BS, so I'm not really going to read that. But then it goes on to what they're going to actually do. So they're going to up the ability for law enforcement to defend themselves. I didn't know that was a problem because, what do they have, total immunity? No. We've seen that, many officers that commit some stuff that seems pretty heinous. Sometimes they get off, sometimes they don't. It seems like they're gonna give the attorney general some. They'll be able to create a mechanism to provide better legal resources to law enforcement. Okay, that might seem kind of not like a big deal, but depending on what they're talking about, that could be a big deal. And then we go to empowering state and local law enforcement. So the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is going to appropriate heads of executive departments. So she's going to appoint people to different agencies, and they'll take appropriate action to maximize the use of federal resources to provide best practices. So they're going to help. They want law enforcement to act a certain way, so they're going to provide enforcement, aggressive police communities against all crimes. What does that mean? Like all crimes? Could be interesting what they determine all crimes to be. So this is all, that's kind of vague, but we're curious about all crimes. Expand access to improve quality of training. So they're going to do training, whatever. I don't care about that. Increase pay and benefits. Fine. Strengthen and expand legal protection. Enhancing sentences for crimes against law enforcement officers. And we're getting into so it's starting to sound like what kind of crimes are we talking about here? It's vague, so that's up to your imagination, I guess. Promote investment in security and capacity of prisons. So they're gonna just invest more in prisons. And the United States is has some of the largest prison populations in the world, but they want more. Increase investment in collection, distribution, and uniformity of crime data. So this one is really taking some, it's vague, but we know that, what are they talking about? Crime data. So they're going to enhance like a nationwide network of, they're probably going to use some kind of large software. Hopefully no one's telling them they're going to use like AI to try and like figure this out, because AI just makes shit up and it's garbage, in my humble opinion. But yeah, so that's weird. In 60 days from the date of this order, the Attorney General shall reveal the federal consent decrees, out-of-court agreements, and post-agreement orders, which a state or local law enforcement agency is party to modify. So they're going to review all this information, and they're going to conclude such measures that unduly. So they're going to try and decide if any policies and procedures in law enforcement impede the performance of enforcement functions. So they're going to do some kind of audit and try to allow law enforcement to be more efficient in their eyes. Trying to look at this through their perspective. So they're going to just make it easier for them to do their jobs. Some crazy hair going on. All right, whatever. Okay, Section 4, I think this was one of the major ones that stuck out to me. Within 90 days of this order, similar to the other 90-day orders that we had at the very beginning of the administration, that kind of created some real kind of fear-mongering type I guess people were assessing things. Maybe they jump into conclusions. Anyways, so we similar to that. We have another one coming up for another 90 days. So this will be like what? This came out last week. So this will be like September, October, or something like that. I don't know. Not counting. Within 90 days of the date, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Defense. So we got the AG and the Secretary of Defense. So law smashing together with the military in our who, what, where, why that we went over from our how to analyze events. So we know this is the who of this particular statement. Yeah, law and the military smashing together in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Defense. So we got another guy. or lady in this case, and the heads of agencies as appropriate. So some other agencies maybe, we don't know, we're not going to say here, keeping it vague, shall increase the provision of excess military and national security assets. So they're saying excess military and national security assets. I guess that just means, to me, that just means assets in local jurisdictions to assist state and local law enforcement. So this is like martial law, but they're making it vague. They're saying we're gonna have 90 days again to kind of assess it, and so just some legalese saying they're gonna do some martial law potentially within 90 days of the date of this order. The Secretary of Defense, in coordination with the Attorney General, so same people shall determine how the military and national security assets, training, non-lethal capabilities, and personnel can most effectively be utilized to prevent crime. So the SecDef and the Attorney General are gonna decide how they're gonna deploy this. Whatever this is, they don't really say. This is super vague for such a. I mean, this would be like pretty groundbreaking. Holding state and local officials accountable. So this one, they go in and they willfully and unlawfully direct the obstruction of criminal law. So they're saying like that sanctuary cities and stuff like that. So this seems to indicate that they're going to perhaps target sanctuary cities and do something. They're saying that this violates people's civil rights by protecting people from being unjustly arrested. So they're doing some doublespeak here. They're doing some like reverse psychology here to make it sound better than it is. And then we got task forces that are going to be set up. The wording, protecting American people against invasion. Okay, well, that's interesting, but no one's being invaded. General provisions. And then this is kind of at the end of a lot of these. It's just some legalese stuff, CYA stuff. This is a very interesting presidential action. It's not an executive order, because that would be slightly under like maybe different rules or something, so they don't do that. But what I think is interesting of this is Section 4 and Section 5. So we're looking for that 90-day mark. We're looking for some reports to come out or some actions to be taken in between now and then. Now with our previous one, the alarm bells were going off that like on this certain day, I guess this is how rumors start, but on this certain day, that's when they're going to do it because of some vague reasons. But I think that was the same thing. So they said they were going to do some reports within 90 days. And then we did see some actions. We didn't get any reports. Maybe those reports weren't public or really talked about, but we did get some actions along the border. The military, had some bases there, and then took control of some land in a couple places. There was 2 different stories that came out about that, and I think it's possible that was the action maybe that those reports advised them to take. And so I think we should make connections similar to that. Like if between now and then, it's going to take them some time, so it's going to be probably later towards the end of this 90-day period. If we see some actions, like we see, some task forces set up, we may see some contractors, we may see some strongly worded statements directed at governors, mayors, judges, police chiefs, I guess maybe, according to section 5 here, in some of those places that are sanctuary cities, so on the west coast, the big cities along the west coast. I don't know what some other sanctuary cities are, like Chicago and New York City. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but we should be looking at some of those places as potentials for section 5 of this statement to start to show up. If we see some bigger actions, what are those going to look like? I don't know. Are we going to see any? I don't really know what we're going to be able to say definitively is going to show up, but if it's something like that, we might say that, okay, so that's what they plan to do. I don't know how long those stories are going to take to start coming out. Those law enforcement stories about like law enforcement organization and procedures take a little bit of time to filter out to the news organizations. So I don't know what we're going to see, and I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but I think it would be interesting if we do see some of those, and we know maybe those reports came out and this is what they're going to do. And I don't know how that affects our directives. I mean, maybe if we're close to one of those areas, we might want to put some information in there on what might be used. We might want to start contingency planning on a couple things, since this says something about data distribution and collection. We might want to find some different ways to contact our friends and loved ones, and we might just want to not be so out there with our information. Like Facebook has been taken and used and sold to different places, and we know that different law enforcement agencies use that as well. I mean, you can get off of it. It's not the end of the world. I mean, lowering your exposure to data collection probably be a good idea. We should add that on, since this is talking about what does it say? Increase the distribution and uniformity. So to me, this says they're going to try and make it uniform data platform for all this stuff. So we should add that to our directive, consciously lower the threat or the data threshold or data. Your amount of data. There's a word, I just said it and I forgot it already. Yeah. Sick. Okay. We're still at orange 3, but depending on what I wanted to mention, depending on how this shakes out, this could be a scenario that has the potential to raise the threat, at least locally. I mean, potentially the way that number 4 is worded, being vague as it is, with this one here, 4B and 4A, with the SecDef and the Attorney General. That's law enforcement and the military together. When that's been traditionally, known as something that, when you say that term, gets people a little bit nervous. So all this, we're just putting this here. This is an update. This is an update to watch for connections to DJT Presidential action. What is this numbered or from? We'll just put a date. Excuse me. From April 28th to connect the actions from section 4 and 5 about military involved in law enforcement. Yeah, and we don't know, since it is vague, we don't know if this, what those, since, again, this is just like that thing from January, it's asking them for reports on how to use assets effectively. And, you know, that could be a huge range of things. That could be like training. Oh, crap. Oh, man, what happened? I messed up. Anyways, messed up my document here. All right. Great. It would be great if I could freaking spell. Okay, awesome. Yes. Vowels. Great. And then for our directive here, I don't know if we'll bring that up here real quick. And then we'll just put reducing digital footprint and comm stuff based on section 3. And then we'll want to reevaluate this. I don't know if it's even gonna freaking load. You gotta name it. Load? You gonna load or what? You gonna load? Yeah, I'll just do this later. Oh, it is loading. Great. All right, that's pretty much what I wanted to add. I mean, there's other stuff going on. And generally we don't, statements don't really have the same priority as events and action. So, I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on that we can spend hours and hours deep diving on this stuff. But, if you want, information on how to do this assessment stuff, planning, that kind of stuff for your anti-fascist book club, your family, your protest group, what have you. We have videos that do step-by-step guides on how to do that without spending your whole life looking at this stuff, because remaining human, having fun, having a happy life when this stuff is going on is the exact kind of thing you should be doing. Yeah, and that's what keeps us human. So you got to do it. Got to minimize this stuff, do quick analysis stuff, and also, yeah, stay happy out there. Stay you. Anyways, yeah, I'll do this later. I just wanted to get that update out in front of y'all. And, yeah, we'll go from there later in the week. Yeah, talk to y'all later. Remember, though the storm is howling, we go forward till the end.